everyone. Welcome back to today's second episode of Full Bloom Friday. I'm super excited to be here with a dear friend of mine who I have not seen for some years now, Reagan. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reagan.
So we're going to take a minute to check in, as it is the beginning of Full Bloom Friday, or the second Full Bloom Friday. So, okay, I'll go first. I'm feeling some nerves, a lot of excitement to be doing this right now. Yeah, a lot of gratitude, and nerves. Yeah, so that's, and also just like super proud. Like, want to say some props to you. Like, like graduating earlier this year. Congratulations. And your book. Most people can't claim. At our age, a few months out of college, to be a published author, that's so amazing, especially about something with the depth that this content has.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot of really positive, transformative energy. I think, I'm really excited to be here with Rose. I'm so appreciative of you to be giving me this platform to be promoting the book and to share what it's about. Just grateful to be here. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Why don't you start off by just giving us an overview of the book? So
yeah,
I've read it. I can attest. It's most of it. I've read most of it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's a collection of mostly poems. I guess they're kind of like, they're not necessarily traditional poems, but they're poems, and they're like creative writings about my experiences kind of growing up in a state of chronic trauma and chronic abuse, both emotional and sexual, and some physical as well. So it's about that, and then also finding growth and peace and freedom through the healing process, which is ongoing, but still like finding all of those things, which is awesome. So yeah.
And what I'm just curious. So from those kind of beginnings of all of this, like in your childhood, how far does the trajectory, how far does the journey seem now?
Oh,
right? Things are probably a lot different.
Things are very different. And honestly, things changed and shifted in such a short amount of time. I was thinking, because basically my first traumatic experience was birth. I was born in a physically traumatic state. So it's really I have never known anything but trauma. And so it was I'm 24. So for over 20 years, it's to not know anything other than that. I was okay, I'm going to be dead by the time I'm healed, or all of that. So yeah, so I was expecting that it was going to be at least another 20 years, through this healing process. But it has been all of the strength, all of the work, and it's not I'm not healed. I'll never be fully healed. That's not a thing. But to be where I am now is shocking to me, just in a matter of less than a year, to have come so far.
Yeah. So where were you a year ago?
A year ago, I was entering my senior year of college, thinking that I was on top of the world. Definitely got into a toxic positivity stage for a little while. Or I was
can you go into that? Just a little bit. Yeah, we're alive.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I feel I needed to go there, to just do that complete 180 pendulum swing, where it was just I'm great all the time. I am happy all the time. Everything is wonderful, good vibes only kind of thing. And I didn't even recognize that was unhealthy. I was just this is awesome. I feel good. This is amazing. I want to keep this going. And it wasn't until I actually saw a signs of toxic positivity article, and it was all of the things that I was doing. And I was oh, yeah, no. So it was kind of okay, let's make a shift. Let's look internally and be okay, doesn't have to be good all the time. That's not human. Like, we all are gonna have bad days. We're all gonna have times where we just like don't want to show up. It's fine. So it's like, for me, I really shifted into like, okay, how can I be authentic versus positive all the time, which is just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So that was a year ago. And
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so let's see. So for I wrote down some questions. We have questions.
Discussion questions were cool.
I love having you on here. This is seriously like 10,000 times better than Full Bloom Friday. Just me. Okay. Which one of these do I want to ask first? Okay, I'm this one.
Okay.
So when people are reading your book, because it is published, it is available, the link is in the description section of this live. So if you are interested in the book, please. It is really good. I've read it, most of it. So some additions were made.
I sent her the book. I was like, it's done. And then I was like, by the way, I added 22 more poems.
Right, yeah,
like,
no big deal. Yeah. So when people are reading these now, 44 pieces. Yeah. What do you want them to feel, or what do you want them to understand about your emotional experience?
I think like so my reason for writing the book originally was because when I was going through both the trauma and, starting the healing process, I was dealing with this like chronic loneliness. And so I kind of, I wrote about it in the like author's note, where I was like, trauma is such a deeply personal experience. Like, no two people can experience a traumatic event the same way. Even if they experience like a similar event, it's going to be different because they are different, the factors are different, like the timing is different. So then also their healing process is going to be different. So that can make it feel like you're the only person going through it. So because I was dealing with that, I was like, okay, no. Like, there are so many people who have dealt with trauma, unfortunately. Like, the stats are ridiculously high. So I was like, okay, what can I do that can like connect survivors?
Yeah.
And like, how can I reach survivors and be like, you are not alone in this. Like, this, it sucks and it's awful, but there is light on the other side. So like, my biggest takeaway that I hope people can find is empowerment. Just like within the struggle itself, it's very raw. Like, a lot of these poems are very like I don't shy away from how real it is. And then like, so empowerment within like the struggle and owning that, and then also owning your recovery and owning the healing process. So,
yeah. I love how you talked about how trauma looks different to every individual, and how yes, like the amount of people who experience traumatic events. And so my Full Bloom Friday this morning, did you watch it? That's okay. It's okay. I talked about how I briefly mentioned like the DSM-5's definition of trauma, and my opinion is that it's way too exclusive, right? And that there are a lot of, my perspective, there are a lot of events in addition to that that reproduce those same, heightened nervous system, fight or flight response. And like you said, the numbers of people that experience that, I mean, are most people. And because of that, each of our experience is different. And I also loved how you mentioned the taking responsibility for our recovery. And I was thinking about that this morning. I really think that is the difference between a victim and a survivor, is who's willing to take responsibility for our recovery, right? Because after, the traumatic events that people experience, after they happen, right? Like, as devastating and challenging and horrific as some of them are, as they all are, right? At some point, we've all got to kind of own where we are now, right? And if we don't kind of get that empowerment via responsibility, then it's much more difficult and maybe even impossible, I think,
Yeah.
to really like fill that hole back in.
Yeah, and it sucks because like literally like I fought this for so long. I was just like, I want someone to fix me. Like somebody broke me, so I shouldn't have to fix myself. Somebody else should be able to fix me. And like just like we were talking earlier, like it was a hard pill to swallow for me, where I was just like, no, like I have to own this. Like I can only change my own life. If I want my situation to change, I have to be the one to change it. And it's tough. So like, if you're in that space, like validate how hard it is and pat yourself on the back because you're doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what are your visions going forward? So we talked about this a little bit.
Yes.
Just one-on-one.
Yeah.
And guys and girls, I am so, I don't know, politically correct. People, humans, spiritual
Dudes.
beings. I seriously, this woman is so awesome. Like, you are so powerful, like super talented, like, I've known for since we first met, right? Like, you're very talented. And just to know that she is pursuing her passions, like that's, that lights my heart on fire to hear you talk about those things and to know, like, oh my God, yes, because you are so talented.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we going to, am I sharing what my dreams are?
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to be pursuing music, singing, rapping, songwriting. I have a couple, like, with anything that I do, I want to be like inspiring and changing the world. So a lot of my writing is from like a deep, like raw, authentic place that like doesn't shy away from struggle, because I feel like we're just as a society lacking being able to like be honest and true about where we're at and what our struggles are. And that's kind of a shame. So I actively kind of like fight that. So my favorite one that I've written so far is called Storybook. And it's basically like, it's to raise awareness for suicide, because it gets me. Like, that's one thing that I'm just like, oh my, like my heart just like drops into my stomach anytime I hear, because like I know I've been in that place. I know how difficult it is to like get through that and that mindset, and be like just like here, and it's so heartbreaking. But so it's for Storybook is about like, one of the lines is like, just don't go closing your storybook because you're worth more than that. So yeah, I'm excited about that one. But like a lot of my intention with music is to bring the world closer together and spread love and kindness, and inspire people to like own who they are and be so confident in who they are, because we are all unique individuals and we all deserve to be proud of who we are.
Yeah. And I loved what you said earlier. Let's see, you said that it's true and simple, but right, profound. I think like it's a lot easier to be nice than to be mean. Yes. Like, right? Like, and that's just, it's so simple and it's so true. So like, let's do it more, right? So yeah, I really love how mission oriented and like intentional your message is, because singing, you're going to be an author, you're going to be in movies, it's going to be great. Yeah. So she's moving to LA. She forgot to mention that part.
I didn't mention that.
Okay. So was that, did you not want me to
Oh no, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, so let's do this one. This is a little more deep. So for individuals who are currently or have recently been experiencing trauma, are still very much in that like raw beginning stages, and maybe even haven't really escaped the situation.
Yeah, that's really, really tough. I wrote down notes. I'm gonna just check what I wrote.
We don't have a problem. We just need a plan. That's one of my favorite
So
things to say.
Okay, so I'm gonna take those in two. So for individuals who have recently left a situation of ongoing trauma, my biggest piece of advice is to trust yourself, because something got you out of that situation, and whether or not you know what it is or like why you left doesn't really the reason doesn't really matter. What matters is that you left, and so I would just like own that and trust that, and like how powerful that is, that something, whatever it was, inspired you to get yourself out of that situation. And then if you are currently experiencing ongoing trauma, I think the biggest thing that I would say is keep in mind that you are doing whatever you need to do to survive. And that's really powerful. Like, it took me a long time to realize this, because I just had so much self-blame, and I was just like, I got myself into these situations, like what they were doing were my fault. And that's so not true, you know? So as hard as it is, like, just tell yourself it's not your fault. Like, if you can't leave right now, maybe like plan for when you can leave if you want to leave. Like, it doesn't, like, just because you're in something right now doesn't mean you'll be in it forever. So yeah. And
for people who want to support people who are both currently experiencing traumatic situations and who maybe support systems who are being told like, hey, I went through this.
I think the biggest thing that made a difference for me was when people stopped trying to fix me. So, because like I already felt damaged, I already felt broken, I already felt like I needed to be fixed, which was not true. I'm not damaged, I'm not broken, I never was. But so when I had supporters who were just like, they met me where I was at, and they were like, hey, like, what do you need, really? Like, I'm not just gonna like give you some BS like advice and then say like, hey, bye. Like, what do you actually need? That made the biggest difference for me. And then I also think that just having patience was really, really big for me, because there was like, I would fluctuate. One day I would be like, I'm so confident, I got this. And then like the next hour I would be like, I'm a victim. The world is ending, you know, like just this like catastrophizing kind of narrative. And so the people who really like were able to have patience with me and like help me through those days, good and bad, that was so important for me. Just to like have that external validation of like, okay, this is where I'm at right now, but also I had a good day yesterday. So it's like remembering both.
Yeah. So a big thing I'm hearing is like asking if you're wanting to support someone who is experiencing or is telling you that they have experienced trauma, to really to really ask them what they need.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe making assumptions about what that is.
Definitely.
And also something that I kind of heard that I know has helped me a lot from my support system is like fact checking.
Yeah.
So kind of being like, you know, there were a lot of days, right, that I'd be back and forth during the day or have like a really good day and then like be on the couch, like, right, so depressed, can't get up the next day. And even though, I mean, for real, sometimes like it annoyed the crap out of me. But having someone be like, in those moments of me being really depressed, like, hey, just remember you had a good day yesterday. Yeah. Right? And then that was...
And I would totally, like, fight them up.
Right.
Okay, yeah, but it was probably fake.
Yeah. Like, I don't remember that.
I was just manic.
Right, yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, so fact checking. Definitely push that because it helps.
And, you know, we don't need anyone to be... I think overly positive in those moments can be a little harmful too, right? But just really trying to bring us back to, or bring, what was helpful for me was to bring me back to more of an objectivity. Yeah. Right, like not necessarily positivity, right? That's going a little far. Expecting maybe a little unrealistic expectations right now, but just that fact checking, Okay. Okay. So you used a lot of like metaphoric speech in your book, right? Poetry, and what it would be if you had to pick one metaphor or a couple, if you can't pick one for your life.
I can pick one, and it is the phoenix bird. That's why it's called Tale of a Phoenix. It's also like a play on words because
also she loves Harry Potter.
That too. So actually, side note, the phoenix, that's actually tattooed on my back. So like that's me on the cover. I'm cool. And then my awesome friend, shout out to Noah Cordoba. He did all the graphic design. He did the photo and did all the graphic design for it. So shout out to him. Thank you for him. So yeah, it's called Tale of a Phoenix, and I spelled it Tail because the phoenix bird's tail is able to carry like incredibly heavy loads, and they just like survive. So I did like that, but then it's also like a play on words of Tale, and then like I'm the phoenix, so it's like a story of my life.
Yeah. Can you maybe, for anyone who's not more fantasy literate,
what is a phoenix?
Right, what is a phoenix?
Yeah, well,
I saw one in my backyard the other day.
I own one. A phoenix is kind of like, it's a mythical creature or bird, and the like three things that I super relate to about it are that when it dies, it bursts into flames, and then it's reborn in its own ashes. So that for me, I was like, I really felt like I had to like combust my past and my life in order to be able to move on and like grow and become the person that I like always was capable of being. I just like wasn't ready to with all of that baggage. And then the second thing, I mentioned the tail, so that's awesome. And then their tears have healing powers, which I think of for my own life as a metaphor of just like, don't shy away from emotions because they're actually really important and we need to feel. And when I learned and allowed myself to cry, like I honestly, like I cry so much now because it's just like, that's my body's release and that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. So the big idea with this morning's episode was post-traumatic growth. So we hear a lot about post-traumatic stress, and which is obviously very real, right? And there is though like a whole nother side, right? Like what's the half of that balancing it out, which is post-traumatic growth, and I would suggest that this book is a really good example of like what can come from that growth. So you were talking about the phoenix rising out of the ashes, right? And I was like, oh, post-traumatic growth.
Yes.
So that's powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. When did you start writing these pieces?
Most of them I started writing this summer, so in July. I think there are two of them that I wrote. One was 3 years ago, and one was, I think, 2 years ago, that I then just kind of like reworked for the book. But yeah, most of them were July.
So before you started writing, was your intention like this is going to be a collection of poems?
No, not
okay.
at all. So I used to write a lot when I was like in high school, and then just like stopped because I was lazy or something, I don't know. But so I got back into it because I was like, I have all of these feels. I have no place, like I don't know what to do with them. I need some type of outlet. So I just started writing for myself. And then that's when I kind of realized like, oh, hey, like other people probably are experiencing the same thing and maybe could benefit from something like this. So most of it was, I just need to get it out and write it for myself. And then when I started having the idea of like, well, maybe I could turn this into a book. I then kind of just like reworked it a little bit, but yeah.
I like that. That's a common thing that I've heard from like authors on podcast interviews or a couple of friends who have published books, is that it seems like their intention to write for themselves, like they weren't writing for an audience, really helped just the whole, like the integrity, the momentum of their piece. So that's really cool. See, you're meant to be, like you're already doing it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. We'll do one more and then probably wrap it up.
Cool.
Okay, so, and I'm interested in this because, you know, a little bit of psychoanalyzing and curious.
Cool.
Do you have and specifically towards kind of like self-care, right? Do you have a morning and or evening routine?
I have both.
Is your self-care like not having a routine? Okay.
So I have both. But I also think like I fluctuate where like I sometimes can't maybe get to my morning or evening routine, or just like I'm not in the mood. So for me, it's also important to recognize where I'm at in the moment and in the day, and like not shame myself if I don't do it. But yes, I have a morning routine, and it consists of meditating and like super like grounding, mindfulness, exercise, and like eating a good breakfast, like physical self-care. And that just like gets me like alert and ready for the day. So I love it. And then my evening routine is more like to wind down, because I struggle a lot with sleeping and just like being nervous at night. So it's like, okay, what can I do to help myself and help like regulate my body for sleeping?
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are some of the things?
Tea.
Mm-hmm.
Hot tea.
Do you drink valerian root tea?
No.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Okay, it's a moderate sedative. Anyway, I talked about it on another episode.
Okay.
I'll show. Anyway, it's great. Valerian root tea.
Yay. No, I do pomegranate raspberry and then a mango passion fruit.
Yum.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So either one of those. I have like I'm a blanket and like stuffed animal, super soft person. So cuddling with like my weighted teddy bear. I made a weighted teddy bear. Super helpful. You should do that if you have anxiety or like any, like definitely do that. I also like so I heard somebody say this and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. But like softening my voice and like just like physically slowing down. Because then it's like, okay, now we're actually gonna like sleep and go to bed. So that was really not something that I had ever thought about, because I can be a very like uppity, like go type of person. Then I try to sleep and I'm just like, well, I'm wired. So that was important. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I don't remember. I had a thought. Whatever. It's past. The moment's past. So yeah, this was really cool. You're awesome. Thank you.
You were so awesome.
You were amazing.
Thank you. I'm gonna make it about you though for a minute. Like, is that okay? Can I make it about you? Not that I'm deflecting the attention off of me at all.
We were also talking about this earlier about how our society does not take compliments well. Case in point, we don't take compliments well. Right. Yes. So we can take turns. Okay.
Go ahead. Okay. So I want to validate you, endorse you, like praise you for just being such a strong woman, a warrior, an example, really of what, from like the depths of a place that is very painful and empty and lonely, what can come out of that. And something that I talked about along the lines of post-traumatic growth is that kind of the two things that are maybe required in a sense are, one, like being aware of it, right? That there is hope. And two, that we're willing to look at ourselves. And so, just like kudos to that for like being willing to do the sometimes very dirty work of like self-work and self-reflection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You are absolutely amazing. I'm just like so blessed to like be here and be able to see you. It's been a long time and it's been wonderful. Just like going back into it. So,
Yeah, for sure. I'm feeling like super energized.
Yes.
Like especially after this.
Yes.
This one, yeah. So thank you.
And thank
again.
you for anyone who's watched
Yeah.
or will watch.
Yeah, who will watch. So share it with your friends. Order Reagan's book. The link is on here. And
follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, her Insta's on here.
And Twitter. I'm very sassy on Twitter, so if that's your vibe, follow me. It's the same handle, at Reagan is Reagan.
Okay, and full name for Facebook?
Reagan Ilayna Quynn.
Okay, perfect. Thanks everyone for tuning in.